I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got a made up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone. And I just might fail, but Lord knows I'll try. Shine stars fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. I hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. I go to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you.
Well, good noontime to all of you in our learning community at Evergreen State College, Tacoma campus. So glad to see you as people are coming forward. Welcome, welcome to Juneteenth, our time in history. What is Juneteenth considered? Freedom Day, June 19th of 1865. 2 years after Abraham Lincoln declared the Emancipation Proclamation, when all people who had been enslaved by federal law had now been relinquished as free citizens. We know that there have been some discrepancies because in 1863, January 1st was the day that Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation. But it wasn't until April 15th, that the movement of the Rangers traveled throughout the South, which were considered the United States along with the New England colonies. and now declared that this would be June 19th would be the day they arrived in Galveston, Texas, to declare that enslavement had ended in the United States. So that's 2 years, and actually 3 months after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln himself. You see, Juneteenth was not necessarily a day that was widely recognized by all people. In fact, it was a very revolutionary act that President Lincoln would even free the slaves on January 1st of 1863. And to his peril, there was the Civil War, in which Abraham Lincoln toiled through 2 more years before it actually ended. And 2 weeks later, ended his own life. 3 months later, Juneteenth occurred. People were told or recommended, stay in your homes where you are. You will now be paid by the slave owners who had enslaved you for free for up to 400 years. We know that it was not the best decision that people would stay still, though many did. And then we know that many left their plantation homes and established new homes. But Juneteenth goes down in history. It was a quiet time until around the 1920s. And then later, the civil rights era of the 1960s, when Martin Luther King himself, with the war, the March on Washington, recalled that it was in coincidence with Juneteenth itself to symbolize that we still were not quite free. And as you know, the 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendment sealed the deal late into the 1960s. But today, my fellow friends and members of this learning community, it is still a continued struggle as we continue to see people dying, people who are policies reversing on the Voting Rights Acts and so forth. It is a continued struggle. I would like to honor today our governor, Jay Inslee, for having enacted a proclamation that declares Juneteenth to be a public paid holiday beginning next year, 2022. And so we will begin by welcoming, first I must say hello to my fellow mistress of ceremony, Meryl. Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I am so happy to see so many people that came today. It does my heart just justice.
Indeed, and they're still coming. So come one, come all. Let us celebrate today. And we will now turn this over to Dr. Karen Johnson, the Executive Director of Equity for the State of Washington, newly appointed by our Governor, Jay Inslee. Good morning, Dr. Jay.
Good morning, Dr. Marsha. It's good to see you and Meryl and others. Happy Freedom Day, Evergreen. Ashe. I am Dr. Jay, a tall, melanin-rich queen of African, Blackfoot, Cherokee, Hebrew, Japanese, and Seminole descent. That was according to my dad, who figured all this out before Ancestry.com was a thing. I am brilliant, resilient, and despite every attempt to the contrary, I am still here. I must first give a shout out to the Washington State Legislature, especially Representative Gregerson, Representative Morgan, who you will hear from shortly, and Senator Dingra, prime sponsors and champions of the bill to create the Washington State Office of Equity, the first in the nation. And I honor you, the Evergreen State College community, for having this Juneteenth celebration. Thank you for allowing me to join you today in this great day. I do thank Governor Inslee for signing into signing into law, April 2020, and naming me as the inaugural director. And I bring you greetings on his behalf. And I must say that I come to this role after decades of public service, including serving as an adjunct faculty for the Masters of Public Administration program at the Evergreen State College. You all are leaders who are going to shape history, be world changers, history makers, and I am blessed and humbled and honored to be in your presence. A few words briefly about the office that connect to Juneteenth. So the Washington State Legislature, Representative Morgan and her colleagues, they established this equity office, get this, 156 years after the first Juneteenth, 158 years after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in this nation. Why? Because they found that as the population of Washington State becomes more racially and ethnically diverse, still historically and currently marginalized people, largely Black, Indigenous, and Latinx, still do not have the same opportunities to meet parity as their non-marginalized, largely white counterparts across every measure, including education, poverty, employment, health, and more. And they found that looking at the data that these inequities based on race, ethnicity, and gender, they're continuing now to be deep, pervasive, and persistent. And as COVID-19 exposed last year, something that many of us already knew, they're coming at great economic and social cost. So our mission is to promote access to equitable opportunities and resources that reduce disparities and improve outcomes statewide across government. Real briefly, what is the Office of Equity going to do? This is how we're going to roll. We're going to embrace equity. And by that, we mean we're going to identify, name, and dismantle institutional racism, economic injustice, and oppression. And we'll be focusing on decriminalizing Blackness. We're going to focus on racism, and we're going to challenge and undo all forms of oppression. And we're committed to centering anti-racism as our primary focus across state government. The governor, in his historic commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, wrote, quote, "I believe that Washington will be an anti-racist state," end quote. And the Office of Equity stands to the ready to do all that we can and ask you to join us in making that a reality for all. We're going to consider community because we absolutely believe that there should be nothing about us without us. And we're going to be working to shift the power in our laws, rules, policies, and practices to the people who are impacted by our policies. And we're going to commit to bold action. Eliminating racism and oppression requires revolutionary change. So we're not going to be drawing back. We're going to be leading the effort, and we'll be asking you to join us. And today it is my complete honor and privilege to introduce to you one who has been leading the effort to center Blackness in humanity by introducing and sponsoring the Juneteenth bill, House Bill 1016, the one that the governor signed to make an official holiday in this state, beginning a paid holiday in 2022, the none other than Representative Melanie Morgan.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson, and thank you for agreeing to take on this insurmountable work and this very important work of ensuring that we have true equity in the state of Washington. It really, when they were looking at who should lead this office, I really thought that it really needed someone who had a background in racism in this country, and someone who's been in the fight, and someone that's committed, and someone who knows that in her heart that inclusion is the way to true love and being a neighborhood. So I'm so glad. Thank you, Dr. Johnson, for leading the way in the State Equity Office. And I truly look forward to what will come out of this. This is just the beginning. She hasn't even gotten started yet. She's still writing her plans. She's still meeting and greeting folks. So stay tuned, everyone, especially in this community, because when it comes time for her to start rolling out the plan, she's going to need your help. She's going to need your support. So please stay in touch with her and stay in touch on her website to find out exactly how she's going about doing this. I also wanted to thank Evergreen for inviting me once again back to this for this important holiday that we're going to celebrate, but to share with you why I brought this bill forward. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Representative Melanie Morgan, and I represent the 29th Legislative District, and that's in South Tacoma in Pierce County. I want to share with you some words that came from my heart on what it meant, why this legislation was so important to pass. Africans were captured and shipped to a foreign land, herded like cattle in a public auction. They were stripped naked, poked, and prodded for their sturdiness and strength for labor in the fields, the plantation house, or any work ordered by their white masters. These people were never paid a wage. They didn't have health care. They did not have any rights. Let us not forget that in 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, Americans, Africans were in chains in the fields. Africans were not afforded life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as they were slaves classified as animals. For over 400 years, several generations of Africans were beaten, bred like cattle, experimented upon, sexually abused, overworked, hung, and denigrated. But there came a time when they were released off those plantations, but they had no direction of where to go, no resources on how to survive in the white society, not a red cent in their pockets. They were left in abject poverty, which might have been the intention, but yet we rise. 150 years of Black codes, race riots, exclusionary Jim Crow laws, the crack invasion, over-incarceration, and death did not stop our people. People like George Washington Bush from settling in Washougal and Tumwater, Washington, or the first Black city mayors like Harold Moss of Tacoma and William Craven of Roslyn. Yet we rise. This country has passed 8 civil rights acts, yet my brothers and sisters are still being innocently killed in the streets or in their beds. My people are still in abject poverty with insurmountable barriers. Some say that it costs too much to acknowledge the end of slavery. To that I say, it's not even close to the real cost of racial injustice, as the data shows that this country made over $3 trillion on the backs of our ancestors. So this is just a down payment. Some have also said that the state of Washington didn't practice slavery. To that I say, the state of Washington benefited from those $3 trillion. And the state of Washington was not a state on July 4th, 1776. Yet we celebrate that holiday proudly every year. Juneteenth is more than just about a holiday. It's about true recognition and acknowledgement that chattel slavery happened in this country. Without this, then how can we advocate for racial equity? This is a step towards reconciliation and healing by acknowledging Black pain and Black trauma. African Americans deserve to have their history remembered, as we are the heartbeat of these here United States of America. Our ancestors built this country through their sweat, tears, and strength. And they were never offered a sincere apology with reparations and sovereignty. The very things that they hated about us are now being exploited. Our dreads, our music, our fashion, our language, even our men. Celebrating this holiday is an important step in Washington's racial recognition and healing. Together, we are standing up and recognizing the atrocity of chattel slavery, remembering that Black slaves were released from bondage and showing the country that we are serious about equity in the Washington state. I am proud that the legislature and the governor continue to address racial inequities. And I look forward to the day when Washington state declares it is an anti-racist state. My hope is that Juneteenth will be a holiday celebrated by all Washingtonians, just like July 4th, a holiday that brings us all together in fellowship. Black Lives Matter. Happy Juneteenth.
Oh my, thank you so much for those powerful words from our own representative of Washington State in the 29th district, where we sit in the hilltop of Tacoma. Thank you for representing us, Dr. Melanie Morgan. I want to say that she is the author of the bill, and now starting next year, we will have a paid holiday on June 19th. Thank you so much for looking after us. Also to congratulate Dr. J. Such an honor for you to join us today. Two powerful Black women who are putting it down on behalf of us all, because they come with inclusivity. There's no one they're leaving out in their leadership. We can only be so proud. Thank you so much. You remind me of my own book, The Stolen Ones and How They Were Missed, how people were taken from families intact in Africa, minding their own business when they were taken away. And people can only remember the stories told by their families through generations about never forget that there were stolen ones in our lineage, people who we loved and cherished, and we didn't know where they had gone. And we today are the stolen ones, recognizing that we can return home to our homeland in Africa, come back to our home in America, bridge and build bridges for that. We continue to build ties between Africa, between America. We struggle together for this liberation, for this day that everyone recognizes our full citizenship, our full humanity. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Well, we now have a new wonderful contribution from our own Alan Thompson, who is the director of the academic advising at Evergreen State College. We are so honored he will bring us a very important reflection song. Good morning, Alan. Welcome.
Good morning, Dr. Arunga Tate, and thank you for this opportunity to share with this group. Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, very, very appropriate for the times in which we are living. This song came out 50 years ago. And to this day, we are still dealing with a lot of the atrocities that he experienced back in 1971. So please, just sit back and enjoy this rendition of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying. You need to find a way to bring some loving here today. Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. Tanisha Thornville, Eric Gardner, Michelle Cusell, Akai Gurley, Gabriela Navarez, Tamira Wright, Michael Brown, Tanisha Anderson, Andrea Hill. These are just a few Black people killed by the hands of police. I ask you to remember their names.
Oh, thank you. That is Dr. Alan Thompson. Thank you so much. Thank you for calling those names of our fallen, our departed. And may I add a name of Charlena Lyles and her infant child who were killed just 3 years ago in Seattle, and our own Manny Ellis of Tacoma, whose life perished less than a year ago, and we are now still struggling through his death. Thank you for invoking the names of our departed ancestors. Ashe. This is a ceremony in which we always remember those who come before us. We stand on the shoulders of those who come before us. And let us not go any further before we acknowledge that we stand on the ground of the people of Native Americans of this soil. I call the name of the Puyallup, the great people of the Salish Sea, calling the name of the Squaxin people, the Nisqually, all those whose ancestors rest on this soil. May we never forget. May we acknowledge them today and thank them for the time we have spent on their land. And I also will take this moment to acknowledge the founder of Evergreen State College, Tacoma, Dr. Maxine Mims. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you so much. At 93 years old, will you still find relevance in being here and moving us forward as a learning community? I want to acknowledge Dr. George Bridges, who is here with us today, our own president. Thank you for your service, Dr. Bridges, of many years. And I also notice our new incoming president, Dr. John Carmichael. Welcome. We wish you well in your new role, and we hope it will bring you great success for all of us. Thank you so much. At this time, I would like to now, are you still there, my MC partner?
Yes, I am. I'm right here. How can I not be here? This has been,
I tell you.
Oh man.
We're already off to a good start.
Woo. So I would like to talk about Tulsa, and I'd like to give a tribute to Tulsa because this year is 100 years of Tulsa. And because on May 30th, 1921, Greenwood was one of the wealthiest Black communities in the country, home to doctors, lawyers, and entrepreneurs. It boasted restaurants, grocery stores, churches, a hospital, a savings and loans, a post office, 3 hotels, jewelry and clothing stores, 2 movie theaters, a library, pool halls, a bus and cab service, a highly regarded school system, 6 private airplanes, and 2 Black newspapers, according to the Greenwood Culture Center. 2 days later, it was all gone. The destruction was sparked after Dick Rowland, a 19-year-old Black shoe shiner, was accused of assaulting a white elevator operator named Sarah Page in an office building in downtown Tulsa. Though the charges against Dick Rowland were eventually dropped, and Page later wrote a letter exonerating him, a white mob gathered outside the Tulsa courthouse where he was being held. The white mob, armed and agitated, marched to Greenwood. What followed was a rampage that historians think left as many as 300 dead and 10,000 homeless. They tried to kill all the black folks they could see. A survivor, George Monroe, who was 5 years old, recalled, Houses were looted and robbed and torched. Businesses were attacked and destroyed. Planes dropped kerosene bombs from the sky. When it was all over on June 1st, 1921, 35 square blocks of what was nicknamed Black Wall Street laid in smoldering ruins. There were reports that bodies were thrown into the Arkansas River or buried in mass graves. Hundreds of survivors were rounded up at gunpoint and held for weeks at camps. No one was ever held accountable for these lives lost or the property destroyed. Insurance claims filed by homeowners and business owners were rejected. For decades after the massacre, there was a silence about what happened. Few in Tulsa learned about it in school or at church or at family dinner tables. There were only just 3 known survivors that are left. And just recently, I've been looking into this. They have on, I think it was Netflix or one of those streams about the Tulsa race riots. And it just, every time I hear about these different massacres of Black folks, this is not the only one that has taken place on US soil. I wish I had the map of all the massacres that have happened here in the United States. But I feel we are resilient. This program is about resilience. And for us to be going through what we have gone through with, like these massacres and all these systemic things that are set up for us not to prosper, it just, I don't know how I feel anymore. You know, only thing I have in me is to fight so that those that are coming behind me have an easier time in this life than I do. And I'm glad that I am a Evergreen, you know, a graduate of Evergreen. And like at Tacoma, it's about enter to learn and depart to serve. And that's what I am doing, is serving. Oh man.
Indeed. What a sad memory, but it's a memory we must keep in front of us, that even when Black Wall Street happened, there were dozens of cities that this occurred to, but it was only Black Wall Street that was bombed by the National Guard from the air. At that time, it was the first time that had occurred, not the last, but the first. Thank you for bringing that to our consciousness. We also should state, Meryl, that this is not just happening to African Americans. That red people, brown people, yellow people all have their stories of atrocity.
Yes.
We are just, for today, focusing on what occurred to Black people because we are acknowledging Juneteenth. Yes, Ashe. And when we say Ashe, we're just speaking Yoruba words. It is a very simple thing. It means we're speaking truth. So when you hear us say Ashe, you may join in if you agree or if you hear something that resounds with you. So thank you. I believe Tara has a presentation for us.
Yes, Tara does have a presentation of some wonderful artists that we have. We're going to show some artists' work. And we have work from Deja Marshall, Lauren Weiss, Dion Bonner, Robbie Woods, yes, and Demetrius Romero. Yes, and Anthony Tackett as well. And without further ado, can we go with the film, the presentation?
Here we go, yeah, go again. Round and round, round and round. Where does it end? Draw a line, yeah. Picking sides. No one lives if someone dies. We can't sit on the sidelines watching rest of the world is on fire. Be the person that you know you should be. Give your children something they can admire. Spending too much time picking up all the pieces of a life that we couldn't find. You know a change is a coming, yeah, that we know for certain. So it's time for us to open our minds. Round and round, round and round. Where does it end? Sides. Get together, 'cause there's no other way. Now is the time, 'cause there's something to say. Love each other, because that is the way. There's no better time, that time is today. Draw a line, get together, 'cause there's no other way. Now is the time, 'cause there's something to say. No one lives, love each other, because that is the way. If someone's no better time, that time is today. Now is the time. Now is the time. Something to say.
Thank you so much. And we're going to have a few words from Robbie Wood, whose music was played in the background. You can't unmute?
I got it now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a very important celebration. The song I was motivated with, called Soul Americana. I'm a big advocate for all the marginalized groups getting together as one in order to win, in order to finally overcome the oppression. And for me, that's what that song represented. It's talking about us all getting together, because we all have different struggles, but are under the same umbrella of oppression, and they can't beat us if we have the numbers. And so for me, it's very important that we all get together and all win, and love always trumps hate. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here.
Robbie, can you tell us a little bit about the other song? Because we're going to hear your other song as well.
Well, the other song is called The Looking Glass. And in 2002, I was brutally beat by the police. And afterwards, a lot of my more privileged friends and colleagues, they always said the same thing. Well, you must have done something. You know, the curtain hadn't yet been pulled back. And as of recent years, and this is 20 years later, and the curtain's finally starting to get pulled back. And now these same friends come to me and be like, oh, we had no idea. And I was like, well, I told you, you know. And but to me, the important thing is that now the blind are starting to be able to see, you know, the majority of blind people that are essential for our movement to go forward, people that otherwise were blind to the realities of this country and what we deal with on a daily basis. And so this song is basically an ode to that, the fact that through the looking glass, we can see, we're starting to see what's really going on. And that's the first step towards change.
Thank you so much for your thoughtfulness, the reflections, and your art that you're giving us today. Can we have that song, Trey, if that song is queued up?
It's like everywhere it's happening, everywhere unraveling. We don't care, it's happening. People in the rafters cackling, laying on the couch, unpacking what they lacking in. Praying to your God to stop from rapturing, redefining the beliefs on what exactly's masculine. Asking him, what's next, what's best to put to rest, and what's left for the nest. It's just a test, it's what we manifest. Quick to the draw when we saw what was treated less. I confess that I rooted for the unrest, a hard pill to swallow, even harder to digest. So here we are, waist deep in this. Even though we needed it, it still feels so ridiculous. We are the stars of a doomsday flick, full of bad players, victims, and lunatics. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Laid back, open wide, take your medicine. Prying eyes just outside, screaming let us in. Gentlemen, tongue kissing with the enemy, halting our ability with synthetic tranquility. So manic, we sold panic to the poor, then sat back and waited for death's knock at the door. What's more, we making freedom the bad guy when we flying our flags high while living this old lie. Feel like I'm living in hindsight, the blind regain sight, making it their fight. Maybe we just might turn on the spotlight and make everything right. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Yes, the sun will rise. It will rise so high that once again we find ourselves alive. Find another way, just another day we lost to our past, and yet we still survive. Yes, the sun will rise, it will rise so high that once again we find ourselves alive. Find another way, just another day we lost to our past, and yet we still survive.
My. Thank you, Robbie Wood, everyone. Robbie Wood. Love that sound. Love that sound. What do you think about that, Meryl?
Oh, just awesome. Awesome. Whew. When I get all emotional and stuff, it's hard for the words to flow out sometimes, but just know my heart is just so full right now.
Absolutely.
And next we will have Stephanie Taylor. Stephanie, would you come forth, please? Trey, do you have Stephanie's stuff?
I do. We've already talked about it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, we are ready for you, Stephanie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for creating this wonderful space for us to come together in our collective interest. I would like to start off with a quote first. Paradox of education is precisely this, that as one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine the society in which he is being educated. James Baldwin. one of my favorite quotes. I am an MPA student at Evergreen State College. I don't use any pronouns. I was a former ambassador there. I also participated as an activities coordinator for Education First, which is an international language school separated from Evergreen, but it's actually on Evergreen's campus. I didn't find out about it until I graduated. And so after I moved to Olympia in 2012, I became homeless, living in uninhabitable conditions for about 7 years. Code enforcement was able to help me the way I anticipated with the private sector. And so I ended up going through a lot of systemic racism in Olympia, like being homeless, not being able to get rapid rehoused. I went to these organizations as a survivor of domestic violence. I still wasn't able to be housed. Needs assessments were being asked to me, which were 63 questions, which were discriminatory questions. And so what I found to be interesting about that is I used all my resilience, you guys, and I survived. I made it. I'm a Washington State employer now. I started a 501c3. I partnered up with Building Changes, who's funded by the Bill Gates Foundation. I'm partners with the Seattle Foundation. I'm partners with United Way of Tacoma. We're doing the rental assistance for Thurston County and for King County. So if you need any rental assistance, they're gonna put my contact information up. But I want you guys to know all the trials and tribulations that we suffer as underrepresented community members. Just know that I'm here to help us fight through it. We can overcome it together. We just have to come together and use our education, because I tell my children this, education is pointless if we ain't doing nothing with it. And so what we're working on right now in Thurston County is an equitable housing design model to build a space for African-American and BIPOC within Thurston County. So we're collecting empirical data regarding systemic issues that you guys ever endured while in Thurston County, where there was an organization denying you for services, or they didn't meet your needs. Let us know, because we're gonna work on a social justice and racial and equity initiative based on the data that we collect, because we want to work on policy framework. That's what's really going to take us to the next level, is that policy framework to pretty much protect us as African Americans. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but the commissioners ruled as of March 10th of 2021, Thurston County hiring system is filled with racism. So we have to counteract that with a policy framework that protects us on a deeper level. And so if you're interested in collabing with POS, you have the information that was put up, please reach out to us. It's so important. As a survivor, as someone who's been to the bottom, homeless for 7 years, you guys, I just was housed this year after being homeless all this time, March 12th. So that is literally something. So the sky is not just the limit. It's like the atmosphere out in the black abyss is the limit. You hear me? So don't just limit yourself to the skies. Limit yourself beyond that. And whoever told you that you could not do it, whatever person wasn't there for you, come to me. And so I can help you get to your upward bound mobility, because we're not going to be able to do it alone. I didn't realize the American dream did not exist for me. Even to this day, I have to create my own American dream. So with that being said, we're gonna have to work together to create it together. And how we gonna do that? We provide each other the strength, and we come together with these wonderful spaces with our collective interests. So I thank you for it.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. What a story of resilience and power. And oh man, thank you.
And a great example for Evergreen. This kind of voice is what we're looking for. Well done, Stephanie. And she has a 501c3 that everyone should know about, because we have issues. I'm sure that story can come from every African-American family, a trial and tribulation that was not recognized. So thank you, Stephanie, for your service. And thank you for being a part of Evergreen. Oh my, that was wonderful.
That was wonderful. Great. Whoa. And next we're gonna have a film presentation by Demetrius Romero. Trey, can you cue that, please?
Wow, I love that clip. You know, that reminds me of what racism does to a human being, makes them invisible. And then here come the crows that just pick them off and left. That illness, that disease in our community, stop. We have to pull the wool over our eyes so we can see what it does when we invisibilize other people. Thank you, Demetrius. And a shout out to Dion Bonner and Lauren, our accomplished artists. They've been showing their work throughout these presentations. We want you to know the artists in our community, though you may not even have known about them before today, they are part of our community. They are making it happen in Washington State. Dion Bonner is well known beyond Tacoma. Her work is national work. And Robbie's work, oh my goodness. And Lauren and now Demetrius, oh, Evergreen should be so proud. Thank you, Meryl. Keep going.
Okay, so next we're gonna honor, we have the great honor of Chico Irvison. Chico, oh man. And Carl Forbes wasn't able to be here right now, but it's recorded. Oh, hi Chico, I see you. Okay, I won't make a big
Chauncey Chico Irvison is a first-generation college student who earned 4 degrees at the University of Kansas. His Bachelor of Arts, his Master of Arts, his Master of Philosophy, and in 2006, he earned his terminal degree, his PhD, all in American Studies. He taught African and African American Studies at the University of Kansas from 1998 until 2007, and served as faculty advisor for the Freshman Sophomore Advising Center from 2002 to 2005. He was also part of HawkLink. HawkLink is an academic-based program established in 1998. This program assists students of color as they navigate their first year at Kansas by utilizing and making connections to existing programs at the university. Students that have graduated from HawkLink say that the program has had a powerful impact in their academic and personal lives and have continued to come back to assist the program through several avenues as alumni. The HawkLink Award, recognizing scholastic achievement, demonstrated leadership, and participation in the HawkLink program, was first awarded in 2003. I say all this because it was renamed the Chico Irvison Hawk Link Scholarship Award in 2007, after our honoree for today, Dr. Irvison, who was an ally supporter and served as faculty mentor since the inception of that Hawk Link program. After leaving Kansas, Dr. Irvison served on the Evergreen faculty from 2007 to 2020. Due to the interdisciplinary nature of our educational approach, and since we don't really have departments per se, let's just say that Chico made collaborative contributions to the undergraduate curriculum in American studies that include topics of music, poetry, and race. Dr. Irvison was also very involved and made significant contributions to the Gateways for Incarcerated Youth program, and before his retirement was extremely involved in college governance activities and initiatives. Among his many accolades, Dr. Irvison is a published author. He is faculty emeritus at Evergreen, and there's even an endowed scholarship in the name of his parents at the University of Kansas. In searching for comments about Chico as a professor, I found many great things. In fact, I was on this website called Rate My Professor, and as I searched through all of the entries for Chico, none of them were negative. In fact, I was wondering if there were any negative ones, so I went back and looked at some other professors to see if there were any negative comments. Trust me, there are. But going back to Chico, I couldn't find one. So I chose 3 that I thought encapsulated all of the positive comments the students were saying about you. First one, Chico is a wonderful teacher. I can honestly say that I have never had a teacher who found worth in me before Chico did. For some people, it's a paycheck, which I honestly don't blame them. For others, it's about inspiration and teaching. Chico solidly falls in the latter. Second one, I was very fortunate to have Chico for several programs and an independent contract. He's a superb teacher with the ability to inspire his students to think more critically, to make connections between many subjects. Chico provided great suggestions and materials for my ILC and went above and beyond to help me prepare for grad school. Third one, Chico is one of the best professors I have had the privilege of working with. His unflinching commitment to his students is inspiring. His knowledge base is astounding. He genuinely values his students' perspectives. And finally, our own Dean for Inclusive Excellence and Student Success, Coley Gladney, had this to say about Chico's impact. As a student support staff, I work with many Black students who study with Chico both in programs and through individual contracts. Because of Chico's mentorship and support, they excelled in learning the content of their studies and experienced deep personal growth. Chico was both flexible and held students accountable, helping them understand their value at our institution and believing in their ability to succeed as learners and as people. Chico's solid support of our students of color has had a life-changing impact on so many of our students, allowing them to integrate their cultural identities into their studies. Chico is a model of how to show up consistently and compassionately and believe in the gifts our students bring to our community. Evergreen community, please join me in recognizing Dr. Chauncey Chico Irvison as our 2021 Juneteenth Elder of Impact.
Oh my goodness. We'd like to present to you Dr. Chico Irvison. Thank you. Would you like to say a word or two?
Maybe just a few. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here, for sharing your wonderful stories, whether through words or music or song with me. I was just thinking this weekend that it's been 50 years since I took my first Black Studies class. And none of us students at that time could have imagined the level of respect that Juneteenth has garnered. 40 years ago, I taught my first Black Studies class, and none of us faculty could have imagined that level of respect. So a lot has changed, but some things have not changed. And what I have in mind are two, the kind of passion that students have for learning and the kind of commitment that they have to social change. And nowhere is there a better example of that than at Evergreen. So I feel so fortunate to have ended my career here. And it's students like this that allow me and other retirees to kind of sit back and say that the world is in good hands. So thank you very much for the honor and for your very kind words.
Thank you, Chico. I'm sorry we have never met, but I too have heard many wonderful things about you. You have set an example for not only African-American students, but especially African-American students who need to see models in front of them of what they can be and what they can learn. And so you opened your arms to them and they learned a little more about themselves because of you and your presence. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And there's many comments inside the chat about just saying how wonderful you are. I heard about you before I even came on Evergreen's campus, and I had to see who you were. And like Carl said, I never heard an ill word about you. And I see your halo. No, let me stop.
Thank you.
So awesome. So awesome that you are here today to share with us. So please stay with us as we continue in our program and continue and know that you have set an example and continue to set an example for many African Americans you don't even know, but only heard of you and are inspired by the fact that you were served Evergreen so well. So thank you so much.
Can we take a few minutes and do some give backs to Chico right now?
Sure, this is a great time to do that.
Is there anybody that would love to give a give back to Chico? Just unmute yourself.
Raising hands is helpful.
Oh, yes. Well, Catalina?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I said this in the chat, Chico, but you were my faculty partner for the second quarter that I taught at Evergreen. So when I arrived at Evergreen, I taught with you and Amy Cook, and just want to say that it was a humbling experience. It was an eye-opening experience, and it was a really nourishing experience for me as a faculty member who had just started at Evergreen. And I think that from that class and seeing you and talking to students that you'd worked with, I just really admire the way that you mentor and nourish students, help them grow, and really, really took from that program and from quarters later, ways that you specifically nourish students of color at Evergreen and made space and home for them. And I heard that a lot from students. So just want to say thank you. Your gifts, I hope I can honor by carrying on from what I learned in that quarter teaching with you. Thank you. I carry a lot of gratitude with me from that.
Thank you, Catalina. And next we have Amira, please.
Hi, Chico. I just want to say thank you and maraming salamat for being a faculty at Evergreen and for being faculty for a few years with the Multicultural Scholars Program. I've had many students tell me they were a scholar and that they had Chico at Multicultural Scholars and shared with me that they learned how to seminar because of you. They learned how to write because of you, and that you set them up for success while they were in the Multicultural Scholars Program. And I got to witness some of that growth, and I thank you for providing me with an example of what I can be and could be and aspire to. So thank you, and I'm so glad you're here with us. Happy Juneteenth. You're wonderful.
Thank you so much, Amira. And next we'll have Carolyn Prouty.
Hi, Chico. I'm so happy to celebrate you and so grateful for this entire celebration. It's amazing. In particular, I think about a few things. I have really admired how you have selected the most impactful ways for you to be a faculty member and use your power and your voice as a member of the faculty and as a, one in our community, that I saw you choose, yes, I'm going to do this, and no, I'm not going to do that. And I think that's a really important model for how, in particular, I'm going to say faculty of color, but for many folks, that it's so important to say yes and to say no. So I appreciate all the ways that you said yes and no. I also, so much of how we work together is through supporting students with disabilities. And I have learned so much from you in that. And I'm so grateful for all of the ways that you've stood up and shared and taught me and so many, and not just at Evergreen, but I know of your work in our communities as well. So I'm thrilled to honor you. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you for all of your contributions.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you so much. And thank you, Chico, for being just an amazing man that you are. Okay. Next. Marsha, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you're doing a great job. I was so impressed how you read the chat and called all the names. This is how we do it. We're just standing up to the occasion. Keep going, Meryl.
Okay, so some people who didn't say anything, like Meredith said, Chico, so great to see you and honor you for Juneteenth. Always knew students had landed in a safe and supportive space when they were gifted with you as their faculty. For many students, you made the difference in having a successful, warming experience and learning. So grateful, so grateful. That's from Meredith. Oh, I guess you can read them yourself.
There's so many, aren't there?
There's so many, yes. And it's getting warm in where I'm at.
I want to point out that we at Evergreen Tacoma, and just acknowledging Dr. Mims, who really set up an institution for Black and brown people who had not traditionally been welcomed in higher education. And she knew that she had to invite them primarily to build a home for them so they could be comfortable to learn. And I think that's a way in which the 70s brought forth very powerful programs. So many have gone away since, but Evergreen has still shown a dedication to an institution like what we have in Tacoma. And indeed, we continue to have majority people of color as our learning students who are adult learners, students who come from variety of income. And we come together to really look hard at what is going on in our society. And with the motto, enter to learn, depart to serve. What a place I'm so proud to work for. We really want to stay dedicated to that. We know the white students will come and they are welcome, because that is what we create, is a welcoming environment. But that we seek out Black and brown students, yellow and red students who have not been welcomed in education. Please tell everyone, come one, come all, because we are about learning and creating a better world. So I just thought I'd throw that in. And now that we have Chico being honored today, we welcome you back to Evergreen Tacoma to help us continue building anytime that you'd like to come out of that retirement. And with that, Meryl, you're muted.
And also, Chico, I wanted to let you know that we're sending you a gift certificate from Rainy Days Records. Yes. And what were you saying, Marsha?
I say, let's go on. Is it Anthony Tackett time?
Anthony Tackett.
Oh my goodness. This is another prize student, celebrated already across Washington State. And we're going to show just a small clip of his work at CHOP last year when he chronicled the Capitol Hill zone for the whole time it was there. But he's given us just a small clip to let you know, not only our students, but our professional artists, our professional filmmakers are with us. And yes, they are among you. So keep your eyes wide open. When you see a Black student or a brown student, know that they're coming packed with some kind of knowledge, with some artistic ability. Oh my goodness. And Anthony Tackett will not disappoint.
His house up. If he's not ready to clean his house up, he shouldn't have a house. It should catch on fire and burn down.
Everybody pass me by.
Good. I mean, as good as anybody who's been protesting for, what is it, 14 days at this point. Been out on the streets since like last Friday. So this seems to be the culmination of all of our efforts, and I don't know what's going to become of this. This is still kind of in its infancy, and it looks to be positive, you know? A lot of free stuff, a lot of free help, free medical attention.
We're on day 14. We're on day 9 camping out. All the speakers are this guy who's kind enough to allow the community and the people of color to be heard a little bit better. We're just trying to create sustainability amongst here, and we were up the block a little bit, and when there was a lot of protesters and a lot of anger, you can't like feel any emotion 24 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not healthy. You can't be just sitting here fucking raging. So we like have some and a good spot. We had a plate of weed out that someone donated for people to smoke. And you know, we just try to fuel you guys up. We're the rejuvenation station, so you can get back out there and fight the fight.
We started because of the Black Lives Matter. We started because people are dying in the streets. You know, and the cops all over the country have been refusing to take accountability for what they're doing. So obviously that's why we sparked it. The police are gone. They walked away. They decided that they wanted to see. I don't know if they thought that we were going to break into their building and be a bunch of terrorists, as Trump calls us. But I mean, look what it sparked. We have artists coming in, painting. We have, you know, people from different areas of the community. If for any other purpose, we would never probably interact. But here we are because the cause is bigger than each and every one of us. Parks and Rec, they're not happy they were turning this into a community garden. But I'm sorry, we're tired of being overcharged for food that we can grow. Why? Why are we overcharged for the things that grow out of the ground?
This is Black Star Farms Garden. Started it, I think it was May 31st, or actually might have been June 1st. Right after we took over, right after the police left the East Precinct. The next day I came in with a shovel, looking to do some guerrilla gardening, kind of bring some plants to the space, start thinking about ways which we can use this space differently now that it kind of ended up in our hands. Basically a bunch of people from the community came and gave their support, their donations, their plants, their love and their time to kind of jump in and support my efforts to build a garden here. This garden is not purely a means of supporting ourselves, is also a demonstration into how we can use space, also a place where we can discuss racism and land inequality and gentrification and all these issues that surround the Black Lives Matter movement that all stem from the roots of the ground, and how Black people, indigenous people have been removed from the land, which is their intergenerational wealth. And it's important that we remind people that if we want to recover from this, if we want to reverse gentrification, reverse racism, we got to give people back the land and educate them on how to caretake the land. We got tomatoes, we got peppers, eggplants, lettuce, we got kale, we got Three Sisters planting, which is corn, squash, beans, we got strawberries. People have brought trees. We had chestnuts, hazelnuts. People have brought grapes. People have brought blackberries. We got a bunch of native plants that can be used as perennials in this space. Actually, Jenny Durkin has issued another curfew order. So basically from 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. we are now allowed to be outside or in this park. So essentially what's going on is people are preparing themselves for whatever might come. We have heard that what's going to happen is community leaders, particularly Black community leaders who have been in communications with Durkin, are going to come out here and try and convince us that we need to leave this space peacefully. And the community here has decided to stay, so we're preparing for that.
We are providing free hot meals for protesters. This is our 4th day being out here. We were both protesting on the front lines. This is Zach. We're working together. We were out there on the front lines the first couple of days and kind of saw the injustices and saw the police brutality firsthand. And at a certain point, going there day after day and getting tear gas and getting maced and getting pepper sprayed, it's like, what else can we do to help?
I immediately called him and I was like, it's time. It's time for us as chefs to get out there. Things are peaceful enough to where we can personally do our best and present our craft. Because at the end of the day, our craft is literally just making sure that everybody is fed, fueled, and ready to go.
The SPD has left the East Precinct. Not sure on what terms, why they left and moved everything out. Today, I know one of the speakers had a meeting with the mayor and with the chief to talk about what are next steps, what does that look like, trying to get these issues moved forward. It's going to be a long process, but right now we're all out here together to basically celebrate, keep this movement pushing, get the momentum going, and we're all here for the greater Black Lives Movement cause.
Wow, he captured some amazing footage of CHOP. I think the most amazing thing that he captured, Meryl, was the fact that there were so many people of color involved in this movement. There were white people, there were Asian people, there were indigenous people, Black people. This was not a movement of just Black people. This was a movement when everyone realized it takes all of us to come together. I think that's the historical significance of CHOP. What do you think?
Yes, and I got to speak to Anthony yesterday, and Anthony said the reason why he went there because he was hearing these things about, no, it wasn't Anthony, it was somebody, how the media was portraying what was going on down at CHOP. And I was glad that he did film this to show that it wasn't what the media was portraying, that these savages were out there tearing things up and doing all these different things, And I found out the reason why the police left, it wasn't because they were fearful of the people that were out there in the area. They were fearful because the Proud Boys came and said that got in contact and said that they want to come down there and do some bombing and doing some damage. And so they were fearful, and that's the reason why they left. And I didn't learn that out till yesterday. And it just makes me think how people how that narrative keeps going because you don't know the truth. All these falsehoods that are placed in, it's just, yesterday, I just learned a lot yesterday. I was really grateful. I was able to be in the presence of some great women yesterday, Dr. Mims, Dr. Joy, and Dr. Arunga. and just the conversations and things that I learned that I didn't know. You know, you every day you always learn something, but it's about critical thinking. It's about doing your research. So as far as when you hear something, okay, you take it in, but then do your research, do some diligent research and really find out what really is happening, because the media is not there for people of color to place them in any light. As far as my opinion is, they don't want to say, you know, place us in a good light.
Indeed.
Yes.
I love the idea of what has been said today about the kinds of decision making that we are called to make in these times, about what happens at our college, what happens in our city, in our counties, in our state. And that as these conversations continue, we must remember there should be no conversation about us without us. That is a good place to begin. And so inserting Black presence, inserting Black voices is a good thing. We want to remind you that we work together best when all voices are heard. I think that's kind of our theme for today. All right. And with that, we actually have ended our program. Is that right?
No, we didn't end the program because we haven't thanked all the people. Like,
absolutely.
Tara Baker, thank you for doing what you do.
Yes,
thank
Tara.
You, Trey. Thank you to all the artists that submitted their work and stuff.
Yes.
And the work that they're doing out in the communities, you know, and just bring to light all the things that are happening with life in the different forms, mediums that they're used, like Robbie telling your story through song, you know. My heart is full, and I just want to thank you from my heart.
Absolutely. To all those artists. And for the committee, let me say their name for the record and just thank them from the bottom of our heart, because they met regularly. And that is Carl Forbes, Meryl Pusey, Trey, we say Trey, but it's only fair to say James Applegate III. Also Therese Saliba, we can only be so grateful for your front seat attention on this committee.
Jacqueline McKinley.
Yes, and Jacqueline McKinley, thank you so much. And Tara Baker, our own student from Tacoma. My, you put it down. Oh, can't forget myself, Dr.
Yes, thank you.
Arunga.
Yes, thank you. I should have said that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, and Coley also for submitting your letting us use your artwork.
Yes, that beautiful presentation in the beginning.
Yes.
So proud to work with you, Meryl, and to be a co-MC today with you.
Thank you. And I like
we had one
for having my back also.
Oh my goodness.
Checking in and making sure, Meryl, do you need any help and stuff like that?
Awesome. I think I saw one hand up, and it's Karen Akuye Vargas, another one of our prize students. So we're going to let her close us out. Akuye.
Hello, everybody. Hey, family. Oh my gosh, this was so amazing. Everyone, Dr. Merrill, all of the guest speakers, all of those that have attended, this was a wealth of wisdom. We have gleaned from our elders. We want to honor our Honorable Dr. Maxine Mims for being a part of this wonderful time in history. This is such a legacy moment for us as we move forward with Evergreen College. We want to make Tacoma campus now. We are a communiversity. And I can tell you that the wealth of wisdom that is shared from breast to us, and how we continue to do our social justice work, and we connect these dots. Power to the people. That's right. And it is the people and it's community, our family, and our lives that we want to transform and impact. We enter to learn, and we sure enough start to serve. And so I just want to give a shout out to everyone that's here. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
How gracious and hospitable. You know, hospitality is one of our values at Evergreen Tacoma.
Rich.
Rich values.
Yes.
Thank you, Karen Akuye Vargas, one of our prize students at Evergreen Tacoma. Well, I think that concludes our program. Thank you so much, Meryl, for working with me on this program and on this.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll answer your question in the email.
Okay. And with that, we welcome everyone. We thank you for being here. Thank you to Bridget's cat who is waving.
Yeah, Bridget.
We ask you to go in peace and remember the messages today.
Yes.
All right.
Definitely.
Asante sana.